Will the meeting please come to order? All members of the council as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Preston Sharp, the pastor at Sacrament Church, who is the guest of Councilman Peter Westerholm.
Good evening. Let's pray. Gracious God, we are so thankful to be here today. We're thankful for all these men and women who have committed their lives to public service. We know that they've made a tremendous sacrifice to do a difficult job, and I pray that you would give them the strength that they need. I pray tonight for each of their families, that you would bless them, that you would guide them, that you would guard them and protect them. Also, our hearts go out this evening to the people of the state of Illinois, as well as the people of the Philippines who are reeling from devastating storms. We pray for comfort in the midst of grief, and that you would empower them as they seek to rebuild their communities. Lord, we thank you for this city and the communities that are represented here. Lord, thank you for Nashville. You have blessed and you are blessing this city in so many ways. We thank you that every good gift comes from you. So I pray that you would give us the wisdom to be good stewards of that blessing. Lord, may we have open ears to listen to one another. And would you allow those voices that are often left out of conversation to be heard in Nashville? Lord, we seek peace and we seek a good future for our city. Would you give each of these tonight peace and wisdom this evening as they discuss the best strategies for Nashville? I pray all these things in your name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present during the course of the evening. Is there a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the meeting of November 5th? There's a motion and a second. If there's no objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
From the mayor.
Thank you.
No.
There are no messages from the mayor. Councilmember Claiborne, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to take just a moment to offer a recognition to the council. I had the privilege last Thursday to attend on behalf of the council the graduation ceremony for the mental health court in Judge Eisenstein's chamber. He had invited a number of different agencies in the county that have a part in working with the folks who go through the mental health court process, and he had asked for a representative of the council to come and accept a plaque and thanks. So I did that on your behalf and had a great opportunity. I'm not sure when it started, but ever since I've been on the council, we have contributed a minimal amount of money in the court's budget to go to the drug court and also to the mental health court. And I think those are probably some of the very best dollars that we approve spending in all the dollars that we deal with. It's hard to explain how these folks take advantage of this opportunity, and they really have to get to the place of graduation, which involves getting stable, having a place to live, having a job, and completing a number of hours of work to help them be better people. These are folks that have mental challenges. They usually come into the system either through drug use, alcohol use, sometimes shoplifting or whatever. And there are some amazing stories. And so I just briefly give you the testimony of one individual that kind of represents the work that this court does. This gentleman was 51 years old. He said that he had been basically an alcoholic since he was a child. He came into the system a little over 2 years ago, was arrested. Don't remember being arrested, doesn't remember where he was, what he was doing, anything like that. And he had this opportunity offered to him. He took advantage of it and worked through the system. He said that he had been alcohol-free for over a year now. He has a place to live. He has a job. And he said, this court, this opportunity, has literally given me another opportunity to live a life that is fulfilling and hopeful. And I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity that the judge and the court has extended to me. So I accept this plaque. It says, thank you for your daily effort. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your integrity. Thank you for your optimism. Thanks from the Davidson County Mental Health Court. So I would give this to Ms. Hayes to post in the council chamber on behalf of all the members here.
Thank you, council member. Members, you will notice in your packet there is a proposed rule change by Councilmember Duvall. That rule change will be voted on at our next meeting. Now we are ready on our agenda for elections and confirmations. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Pro Tem. The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and recommended 7-4-0 against the reappointment of Mr. Randy Hendricks to the Alarm Appeals Board, and I move approval.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And you have
I have
confirmed.
many more. The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and recommended the appointment of Mr. Blake McDaniel to the Auditorium Commission, 7-4-0 against, and I move approval.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And you have confirmed.
The Rules and Confirmation Committee met and recommended the appointment of Mr. Glenn Farner, Ms. Lucia Folk, Ms. Deborah Grimes, Ms. Ivanetta Davis Samuels, Mr. Mike Schmerling to the Employee Benefit Board Study and Formulating Committee, 7-4-0 against, and I move approval.
There is a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And you have confirmed.
Rules and Confirmations Committee met and recommended the appointment of Ms. Jessica Patrick for the Fair Board, 7-4-0 against, and I move approval.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And you have confirmed.
The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and deferred the reappointment of Mr. Marty Dickens to the Convention Center Authority to December 17th, 7-4-0 against, and I recommend deferral.
Second. There's a motion and a second for deferral. All those in favor? Those opposed? And
that concludes our business.
Is deferred. We would like to recognize at this time those citizens who were confirmed tonight. If you will stand as I call your names and remain standing until all have been introduced. To the Alarm Appeals Board, Mr. Randy Hendricks. To the Auditorium Commission, Mr. Blake McDaniel. To the Employee Benefit Board Study and Formulating Committee, Mr. Glenn Farner, Ms. Lucia Folk, Ms. Deborah Grimes, Ms. Ivanetta Davis Samuels, and Mr. Michael Schmerling. To the Fair Board, Ms. Jessica Patrick. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve our city. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. RS 2013-903 by Allen exempts the Frothy Monkey located at 2509 12th Avenue South from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Are there any in the audience that wish to speak in favor of the legislation? Please raise your hand.
Just raise your hand. I don't know that they need to speak. I think you would just need to ask for a show of hands in support and opposition.
If there are any opposed? If seeing some on both sides, if anyone in support would like to speak, please line up at the lectern. State your name and address, please. Okay, no one, would anyone in opposition like to speak? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Allen.
Committee reports?
Councilmember Baker.
Public safety, by request of the sponsor, wants to have one public meeting and defer one meeting after the public hearing, after the public meeting.
So the motion, the public hearing has been held. All right, Councilmember Allen.
I would like to move for deferral with a brief explanation.
There's a motion and a second for deferral.
Thank
Councilmember
you.
Allen.
Would just like to say I've had some good conversations back and forth between the owner and some folks who are in proximity, and would like to be able to continue that conversation a little bit further, and think that we will be ready for a vote at our next meeting. In one meeting, yeah. So I would just ask for one meeting deferral, please.
There's a motion and a second for a one meeting deferral. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the bill is deferred. One meeting. We are ready for the consent agenda. I will read a list of the resolutions that are eligible for the consent agenda. That's RS 2013-905 through RS 2013-917. Are there any of those that need to be pulled? Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you so much. Yeah, can we pull please 905?
All right, we will consider that with the regular agenda resolutions. Now I will read the bill and caption for those that are on the consent agenda. RS 2013-906 by Stein approves an annual grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Office of Emergency Management to subsidize Metro's emergency management program. RS 2013-907 by Stein and Tigard approves a grant from the State Library and Archives to the Nashville Public Library to purchase computers for use by library patrons and staff. RS 2013-908 by Maynard and Stein approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Mars Pet Care US Incorporated to provide food for dogs at the Metro Animal Control Facility and to promote adoption efforts. RS 2013-909 by Stein, Maynard, and Allen approves Amendment 2 to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University Medical Center to provide licensed medical professionals to distribute antibiotics, vaccines, and antivirals in the event of a public health emergency. RS 2013-910 by Maynard and Allen approves an agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University to provide clinical fellows experience and training in the tuberculosis elimination program. RS 2013-911 by Maynard approves Amendment 1 to a clinical affiliation agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Meharry Medical College to provide a wide range of clinical experience opportunities to students. RS 2013-912 by Stein approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to dislocated workers. RS 2013-913 by Stein approves a grant from the State Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to adult workers. RS 2013-914 by Harrison, Stein, and Dominy approves an agreement between the Metro government and Nashville Electric Service to repair 500 feet of eroded pond bank along Great Circle Road for the protection of the roadway and utilities within the public right-of-way. RS 2013-915 by Gilmore, Stein, and Hunt sets a public hearing for a proposed amendment to the Phillips Jackson Street redevelopment plan. RS 2013-916 by Stein recognizes Burnt's 25th anniversary, and RS 2013-917 by Stein recognizes local Davidson County small businesses and merchants and proclaims Saturday, November 30th, 2013 as Small Business Saturday. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you. Rules and confirmations approved 7-4-0 against. Bills number 916 and 917.
Thank you. Councilmember Stein. I apologize.
Actually, Councilmember Pridemore is tonight.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Budget and Finance Committee approved 13-4-0 against for bills 2013-906, 907, 908, 909, 912, 913, and 914.
Thank you. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services approved 908, 909, 910, 911.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigard.
The Parks, Library, Recreation, and Public Entertainment Facility Committee approved Bill number 907 by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Westerholm.
Personnel voted for 5-0, 5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Public beer safety regulated beverages voted 906, 4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you. Public Works Committee voted for RS 2013-914, 7-4-0 against. We voted to approve.
Thank you. Now, Councilmember Berry.
With all committee reports in, I move approval.
There's a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And they are passed. Now we are back to the regular agenda resolutions. RS 2013-904 by Stein authorizes the compensation of special judges presiding in General Sessions Court. Councilmember Stein.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved 13-4-0 against.
I would move approval with a brief comment.
There's a motion and a second. Councilmember.
And thank you. And Mr. Chair and members of the committee, so you are not confused, Vice Chair Pridemore presided yesterday very ably at the budget meeting, so he is handling these bills tonight. 2013-904, after one of the most lengthy discussions in the history of budget and finance committees, was sent to us unanimously. It's not on the consent agenda because it requires 27 votes under state law. What this does is authorizes the General Sessions Court to compensate special judges that fill in the regular course of their business. Several of the counties surrounding us are now compensating those that fill in. It seems that in urban areas it makes some sense to make sure that we are appropriately compensating those that have to do this. It applies to those that are specially sitting. It does not apply to those that are already appropriately compensated, like referees and night court judges, and I would renew the motion to, I will tell you that the General Sessions folks did commit that they believe this will be for this year contained within their budget for this year, and then it'll be discussed what would it take going forward in the course of regular budget discussions in the spring. And I renew the motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion for approval and a second. Councilmember Mitchell.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, and I think, we've got the judicial elections coming up this year, and, instead of doing this right now, these guys are coming to the end of their terms, I think this may be something we want to look at for, once the election has occurred and a new set of judges have come on board or reelected. I asked our legal counsel today to send a question to the courts and ask them, well, have some people been getting paid already? And there wasn't a clarification totally whether that has happened already or not. And I would like to at least defer this one meeting until we can get that clarified to see, has some judges already, special judges been paid already without anybody's approval. So with that, I'd like to make a one meeting deferral on this. Motion for a one meeting deferral.
There's a motion and a second for a one meeting deferral. Is there discussion on the motion for deferral? Councilmember Stein?
Yeah, I would support that motion. I would just like to ask the sponsor if he would make it a two-meeting deferral to the second meeting in December, which will allow time for appropriate response and also perhaps get more attention than it might at the first meeting in December meeting at Budget Committee.
Councilmember Mitchell.
That is fine. Two meeting deferral.
There's a motion and a second for a two meeting deferral. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a two meeting deferral say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the bill is deferred for two meetings. Next, RS 2013-905 by Stein approves a state grant to the Davidson County Election Commission to purchase a computer, printer, and software. Councilmember Stein.
Committee report.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance vote 13-4, 0 against.
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. We've had a situation where the Election Commission has purchased software in the past where we had some major glitches and major issues. I would like to have an opportunity for the Election Commission to come before the Budget and Finance Committee to make sure that we don't have those glitches with the software so they can explain what's going on with the money that we are going to provide them. So I'm going to ask for a deferral and move for a deferral to the second meeting in December and ask that our chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Stein, then request that the Election Commission come before the Budget and Finance Committee so that they can clarify what's going on with the software. And I would hope that the council persons, it's only a two-meeting deferral, that we would defer it to the second meeting in December. And so I'm making that motion for the second meeting in December.
Second.
Defer and re-refer.
And I'd like to have it re-referred to Budget and Finance Committee.
So there is a motion for a two-meeting deferral and a re-referral to Budget and Finance. Councilmember Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the sponsor, I would support that motion.
All right. Councilmember Mitchell, on the motion to defer and re-refer?
Yes, I would just like to support that as well and just bring to everyone's attention as well. The Election Commission this week decided we only need one early voting site for the May elections. So we're going to restrict the people's right to vote again in Davidson County, and they may need to be prepared to answer questions about that as well. Thank you.
All right. We're back on the motion to defer for two meetings and re-refer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Then we have deferred two meetings and re-referred to Budget and Finance. RS 2013-918 by Tigard appropriates $10 million from the undesignated fund balance of the general fund of the General Services District to the Metro Pension Fund for the purpose of reducing the Metro's unfunded pension liability. Councilmember Tigard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee voted 1-4, 12 against.
Councilmember Tigard.
I would move for approval with a brief explanation.
There is a motion and a second for approval. Councilmember, you're recognized.
Thank you. In 2011, the city of Detroit bonds, pension bonds, or pensions were, by their auditor, 80% funded. 2 years later, the city of Detroit pension fund is bankrupt, and the city is in bankruptcy. I don't mean to suggest that Nashville has those problems, but a month or two ago, our finance director, who I respect and think he's one of the sharpest financial minds that I've ever had the pleasure of working with up here, had a proposal to sell $200 million worth of bonds to shore up our pension account. To me, that was a wake-up call that there was some problem or a better way to handle what we're doing. A lot of us thought that was a bad idea, and that proposal was ultimately dropped. As we review what our rainy day fund, our unappropriated fund balance is now, we have built up as a city a healthy balance. And to me, rather than be tempted to spend it on other projects less important than funding the retirement of our pensioners, moving $10 million over to help fully fund that amount even greater would seem to be a prudent idea. I know I was in the vast minority of the Budget and Finance Committee, but to me it was important enough process and the discussion that we need to have as a city to see if we're heading in the right direction. Thank you.
Councilmember Stein.
Move that motion on 918 to the table.
There's a motion and a second to table the motion for passage. Any discussion on? Oh, he got a second.
Me.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move this to the table, and we don't do this very often, but I just really think that the discussion on this, if anyone thought that Mr. Riebling's proposal was bad policy, then you really ought to double down on this one. To be doing this at this point in the year, when we don't know what revenues look like for the fall outside of our regular budget process, seems to me to be inappropriate and risky at best. I would also say that it is one thing to say that we don't mean to raise the specter of Detroit or other cities, but by mentioning them, indeed, that's exactly what we're doing. And for anyone that paid close attention to the discussion, which was a very healthy one in the Budget Committee, they should understand that while certainly there are issues facing this community, we are not even close to being in the position of a community like Detroit or others, and we are more than funding our annual requirements, and we are in a situation that is not dire. So to do this at this particular point in time, it seems to me to be in a body that is almost always fiscally responsible. This seems to be particularly fiscally irresponsible, and I renew my motion to table.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you. Several months ago, we moved $500,000 from our rainy day fund to fund a incentive package for the filming of Nashville. We all agreed, the majority of us agreed, that that was a good investment in our city, but there was no problem moving money from our rainy day fund there. Since when is it improper when you have excess funds to pay down your obligations or your debts? That, to me, my mama and daddy raised me. If I had the ability to pay extra on the principal, if I had a loan, if I had car, home, whatever, that was the best thing you could do financially. Sending money over to our pension account is not an irresponsible act. It means that we may have to fund it even less in this upcoming budget. We're still way above the 5% recommended level of our rainy day fund. In the year 2000, the city of Nashville had a bond indebtedness a little shy of $1 billion. 13 years later, our bond indebtedness is $2.3 billion. We have obligated ourselves at the tune of $100 million a year for necessary projects that we voted on. But at some point, when the economy becomes stagnant or bad, it's necessary to face serious consequences and cutbacks. So when times are good is when we ought to be sending money over to these accounts. So I understand the discussion, and I just respectfully disagree with my colleague. Thank you.
All right, we're on the tabling motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Let's go to the machine. Madam Clerk, would you please open the machine? Are you done? All right. Madam Clerk, please announce the vote.
Ayes 19, noes 15, 1 abstain.
The tabling motion prevails.
Now back on the main motion.
Now, all right, we're back on the main motion.
Well, we need another motion for.
Oh, yeah, that was tabling the approval.
Right, so we'll need to.
Councilmember Stein.
I move disapproval.
Second. There's a motion for disapproval, properly seconded. All those in favor of disapproval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The bill is disapproved. Next on the agenda are bills on introduction and first reading. Are there any of if there's no objection, we will take up all the bills on first reading together. Councilmember Todd.
Yes, I'd like to pull 602 and consider it separately at the end.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tigard.
Yes, if I could pull 593, 94, and 95, and they could be considered as one for the purposes of my discussion.
All right. Thank you. So we will consider these bills that have been pulled, and then we will go to consider the rest of them together. BL 2013-602 by Todd, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS-20 to RS-30 zoning various properties located on Estes Wood Drive north of Trimble Road and west of Estes Road, 19.6 acres, all of which is described herein. Councilmember Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to move to approve this on first reading and then defer it indefinitely.
There's a motion for approval and deferral, indefinite deferral.
Indefinite deferral.
Properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It is passed on first reading and deferred indefinitely. Next, BL 2013-593 by Stein, Gilmore, and Garrett. An ordinance approving the issuance of one or more series of public improvement revenue bonds by the Sports Authority of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Authorizing the Metropolitan Government's execution and delivery of a trust indenture relating to said bonds, authorizing the Metropolitan Government's execution and delivery of an intergovernmental agreement relating to said bonds and development of the ballpark, authorizing the pledge of certain of the Metropolitan Government's revenues as security for the bonds, and authorizing an official statement to be distributed in connection with the sale of the bonds. Councilmember. Oh, all right. BL 2013-594 by Gilmore, Stein, and others, an ordinance approving agreements for the acquisition and disposition of real property relating to the construction of a minor league baseball stadium and acquisition of a parcel of property comprising a portion of the campus of the former Tennessee Preparatory School. BL 2013-595 by Gilmore, an ordinance approving Amendment Number 5 to the Phillips-Jackson Street redevelopment plan. Council Member Gilmore.
Okay. I stand before my colleagues today asking for approval of 594, 595. I think we...
And go ahead and do 593.
And 593. Okay. Thank you. With a brief explanation. I ask that you approve this on first reading because at this point, all bases are loaded and we are ready to make a home run. When we look at this, there's a $150 million public-private investment that is occurring on Jefferson Street, which has not happened for some time. This allows for connectivity and revitalization. In addition to that, we have private developers as well as the state development, and we have the city and we have the sounds, and this has never before happened. So I would ask that my colleagues approve this. Once again, we have elimination of debt, which was something that came before us once before with the TPS property, and now we can make this happen. So making a good thing for kids and education, eliminating some $410,000 in a lease year that we pay annually at this time. Also, we will be eliminating the Sounds obligation debt of $250,000. In addition to this, the Sounds will be paying $700,000 in the lease, which they currently do not do. So I stand before you as a representative of this district, asking for your support for the revitalization of Jefferson Street, a home to softball and the Sulphurdale, Sounds, and just knowing that if you vote for this, you're voting for Nashville, you're voting for connectivity, you're voting for development, and we really need your assistance. So I renew my motion to ask for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I'll be quick. Just want to let everyone know that some people have mentioned about process, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows this, that we began this process several years ago. Several studies have been done, several town hall meetings have been completed, neighborhood meetings all around the baseball stadium area, along with meetings with organizations, nonprofit organizations, as well as property owners, business owners, all along the area and our surrounding area of where Sulphurdale currently is. There is nothing but positivity from the neighborhood associations. In fact, all of the neighborhood associations, with the exception of one, has endorsed the Sulphurdale project. The one neighborhood association that did not endorse it, they did not say they're against it, they just did not vote to endorse. So we have the endorsement of the neighborhoods, we have the endorsement of the property and business owners through the organization that represents them. We had the Urban League letter of support, the NAACP letter of support, the Jefferson Street United Merchants Partnership letter of support, as well as the neighborhoods. Because we've met with them, we discussed it. Then I'd like to take a quote from my colleague, Councilman Tigert, who described Rich Riebling as one of the most brilliant financial minds to work. And he did an excellent job in putting this deal together and presenting not only before the Sports Authority, but also before the Metro Council. And then we will have other meetings to follow, including a committee meeting where we can discuss the merits of this. So let's move this thing forward so we can discuss the merits during the regularly scheduled committee meeting. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're getting a real indoctrination tonight, aren't you? Be careful what you speak. Your words may come back and haunt you. Just take that. The process, and first of all, if I sound a little bit like Grandpa Garrett tonight, please excuse me, but I'm going to have to reminisce a little bit. As a district council member, one of the most important things, and I think the reason that I was successful in subsequent re-election campaigns, was anytime there was a serious issue that impacted not only one particular area and neighborhood, but we're asking the taxpayers of the entire county to help foot the bill on this process. And the reason that I was successful as a district council member was I always tried to hold community meetings. Now, some of those meetings, there may only be 1 or 2 people there, but I could always look back and say we had an opportunity in our community to discuss this project in Antioch or somewhere else in Goodlettsville in downtown. The process that I'm concerned with, as Councilman Maynard described, has been going on for 2-3 years. But it's coming to us now in the holiday season of 2013. First reading tonight, second reading December, early December, third reading, and this is $65 million worth of bonds. And I would submit to you that the ability to ask the brilliant Rich Riebling and the Sounds and the developers of the apartments / condos and all those factors that play into the financial decision, that I would be, as a district council member, inviting out to tell me why this is a good deal and why the taxpayer should help fund this. There's simply no time to do so in this holiday season. So the process I'm describing that's been going on so long, why is there such a rush during this time? Should not all the citizens of Nashville, including those most directly affected, be given an opportunity? So for that reason, Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask for a 2-meeting deferral so we can come back in December with first reading and then come in January and allow community meetings to be, and then at that point, I'll be much more comfortable with saying, this is why this is a great idea, this is what I think should be amended to improve it. It's just simply too tight a schedule at the wrong period of time to be bringing this issue up right now, in my personal opinion.
Councilmember Tigert has made a motion for a 2-meeting deferral. Is there a second? There is a second. Now, right. Motion and properly say, who wants to speak on the deferral motion? All right. Councilmember Maynard?
I'm asking the council persons that we allow this to go to, we approve it tonight, therefore disapproving of the motion to defer, that we go to the committee meeting. If there are any issues that you still have after the committee meetings, and if there's still issues, then bring up the motion to defer. This is premature. And this is just totally premature. Let the process work. Let us go to the regularly scheduled committee meeting. If your questions aren't answered by then, and if you don't have an opportunity to have all your questions answered by then, and then you want to bring before this body a motion to defer, fine. But we should not defer this today. We should allow it to go. They filed it timely, and it's going to its regularly scheduled committee meeting. So we're not doing anything that we haven't done in the past. And I consider Charlie a friend, and he and I talk offline. But I got to tell you, I'm troubled because this is the first, as Council Lady Gilmore said, this is the first time we've had major economic investment in North Nashville. And to pull this one, when we haven't pulled anything else, after all these years, I just think that we need to move forward on this. You come on.
No, you come on.
Listen.
Where do you get off on something like that?
I have the microphone. Councilman Tenpenny, I can say whatever I want to. If you got a problem with it, push the button.
Councilmember, please address the chair.
We have waited, those of us who have been community activists have been told time and time again how we have not had public investment in certain areas of town. And we have had to come before the council, work with the mayor in the past and presently in order to get this type of economic development that we can have. And we have not had this type of major economic development in years in North Nashville. And so that's why I'm asking that we continue to keep this moving forward in order to help create jobs for economic development. Now, if somebody has a problem with what I've said, that's fine. They can pick up their mic, they can make their point. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Stein.
Let's take a deep breath. And let's back up, and let's remember that even when we disagree, we're all on the same team in this 40-member body. I stand in opposition to the deferral motion because my colleague with more experience than I on this body knows well that the reason this body is able to function is because of our adherence to the rules that we operate under. We pull a bill on first reading, and I have been, you can't call me a hypocrite on this one, I oppose pulling any bill on first reading. And the reason for it is because we end up with a debate that is far less informed than it is when we deal with it in the normal course of business, on second reading, in our committees. And a piece of legislation this important should be treated with exactly the same respect that even the simplest of pieces of legislation before this body. So I argue to you that even if you are going to be opposed to this, you ought to want to honor how this council operates and the rules of this council. And I apologize, that's not a rule. I apologize, that's absolutely incorrect. The traditions of this council that have said consistently, we move bills from first reading to second reading and then we have extensive debate. I would argue to you that if this motion was made on second reading, that it has far more merit after we do all of that than it does tonight, when we are speaking, in some instances, we've got some folks making motions on this bill that didn't even attend the 2 briefings we've had so far. So how in the world do they know where we are? Because we've had at least 2 opportunities, well, 3. You could have gone to Farmers Market to get a preliminary. You could have gone to the Sports Authority and gotten a briefing. About 8 or 9 of us did that. Another 20, 25 came to hear the briefing in the afternoon. But then some folks haven't heard any of that. So to do all of this in isolation and not allow for the process of this council to work, I think is unfortunate for a piece of legislation of this magnitude. So I would urge you, whether you're for or against it, whether you're mad at somebody or not tonight, that you honor this council and how we operate, move this bill on to second reading. After we go through committee and everything else, if we want to rehash when we want to vote on it, is absolutely a much more informed decision than one would be tonight. And I urge everyone to oppose the motion to defer.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tenpenny.
Thank you, Pro Tem. I appreciate that. You know, I'm an avid baseball fan, and I really love baseball. I go to the Sounds games throughout the year. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to this legislation, but when I have one of my colleagues stand up and say some of the things that he says, I've got to say something about that. And that's just what I did tonight. So I'm not saying that I'm for or against this deferral. My thing is, my constituents have not had the chance to look at this over, and I've been getting phone calls after phone calls day after day about this, and they want answers about this. So the only thing I'm saying, I want time for my constituents in the 16th district to understand what this is all about. That's all, you know, that's the whole thing about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the leadership of Councilor Gilmore and Councilman Jerry Maynard and all those who worked so hard on this. Lionel Matthews, Frank Harrison, Walter Hunt, and those who paved the way for me to sit here in this seat. Right now, that is a very important project for North Nashville. Right now, what we need to do with that project is to, like my colleagues have said before, let's not defer this tonight. But we need to emphasize the importance of local workers working on this site and to make sure that the people in Nashville are the majority of the ones, the construction firms and apprenticeship programs here locally have a piece of this pie. And also that people who live and work in North Nashville also have access to those jobs. And I want to thank my colleagues that came before me for establishing those programs to help with this process. And I just want to emphasize, you know, to making sure that local workers and apprenticeship programs work on this project. Thank you, and I yield the rest of my time to Councilman Maynard.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mitchell.
you know, I'm going to vote against the deferral motion tonight, but I think the councilman brings up great issues that we need to address. You know, yes, there's been public meetings. We had a public meeting at Farmers Market at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Your average citizen cannot go down there, ladies and gentlemen, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I couldn't leave work to go down there that day. I barely made it here the afternoon. We had the presentation here for the council. You know, it was right at the end of the work day. So I think the average citizen has not had the opportunity. And the council lady sponsoring this, I'm glad she is, but I think we need some answers why we're not looking at other places in her district that I think, she said this is bases loaded, we're going to hit a home run. I don't think so. I think it's probably a 3-2 count, and we can either strike out or we may hit a single, but there may be some other sites in Nashville, Tennessee, downtown in her district that it would be a home run right off the bat if we placed that stadium there. So, I think we're moving way too quick, and I really don't understand why we've got some land across town that we're throwing in the deal in this as well. So I think a lot of questions need to be answered, and we've got some sites that Metro own downtown that we don't have to pay the state for. So, I'm voting against the councilman's deferral motion, but I think a lot of questions need to be answered, and I think the council lady's got some great sites in her district that we may need to reevaluate.
Councilmember Matthews.
Previous question.
Second. Previous question has been moved, properly seconded. All those in favor of previous question say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The ayes have it. The previous question prevails. That brings us to the deferral motion, the 2-meeting deferral motion, which has been properly seconded. All those in favor of a 2-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. And the noes have it. That brings us back to the motion to adopt. Properly seconded. All those in favor of the motion to adopt, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Could I get a motion to pass all other bills on first reading? Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And all the other bills are passed on first reading. Thank you. We're now ready for bills on second reading. BL 2013-552 by Bedney amends the Metro Code pertaining to the parking of motor vehicles for sale on commercial property. Councilmember Bedney.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Moore.
Coach Fair and Farmers Market voted in favor 6 and none against.
Thank you. Councilmember Bedney.
I believe we have an amendment.
There is an amendment.
I move that we pass the amendment.
There's a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The amendment is adopted. Councilman Bedney.
I move that we pass the legislation.
There's a motion and a second on the bill. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. Thank you, Councilmember. BL 2013-576 by Stein authorizes Metro departments to apply for grants that do not require a Metro match without first going to council unless otherwise required by the grantor. Councilmember Stein.
Committee report.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved as substituted, 13 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Stein.
I move approval. I move the substitute, and I have a brief comment, please, sir.
There's a motion and a second. Councilmember Stein.
Members of the council, the substitute really becomes the bill. What this does is currently in Metro government, any department that wants to apply for a grant currently has to apply for a grant. Has to get the approval of the legal department, the approval of the finance department, and this council has to vote on it. In addition to that, if the grant comes to us, all grants have to come back to this council for approval by the council before acceptance. That stymies departments from being able to apply on the front end in a timely fashion. What this does is says any grant that doesn't require a match, and that is certainly not a federal grant which requires all local bodies to approve, it simply says that a department can apply if indeed they then receive it, then also legal and finance are notified of the application. If they receive the grant, it is then scrutinized by the legal department, by the finance department, and this body then votes on whether or not to accept it. So it takes out a step, but it allows them in a timely fashion to apply for grants, which right now stifles some of their ability to obtain additional monies for worthy projects. And I renew my motion to approve the substitute.
There's a motion and a second to approve the substitute. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And you have adopted the substitute.
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second to approve the substitute or approve the bill as substituted. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And you have passed the bill. All right. BL 2013-577 by Jernigan and Holloman amends the Metro Code to require a certified appraisal prior to the purchase of property for use as parkland or open space. Councilmember Jernigan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee approved 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigard.
Parks and Library approved 6-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Jernigan.
Thank you, gentlemen. Move approval.
Motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed.
Yes.
BL 2013-578 by Tigard amends the Metro Code pertaining to the audit requirement for nonprofit organizations receiving grants from Metro government. Councilmember Tigard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee approved 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigard.
There is an amendment to this bill that Councilman Stein suggested yesterday that's been distributed. And John, if you want to explain it.
The amendment limits the applicability of the bill to nonprofits with a total operating budget of $50,000 or less. So if you had a operating budget less than $50,000, you could receive a grant without submitting a certified financial audit. You would still have to provide the minimum audit required by state law, but it would relieve you from the more strenuous certified financial audit.
I would move the amendment.
Less than $50,000. $5,000 for the grant.
There's a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Wait. Sorry. That was a late filed amendment, so it requires a suspension of the rules.
I got ahead of myself. Yeah. I need to ask this body for a suspension of the rules for the purpose of considering that amendment.
There is a motion and a second for the suspension of rules. No objection. Is there any objection? Seeing none. The rules are suspended. Councilman Tigard.
I would move the amendment.
There's a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor, any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The amendment is adopted. Councilman Tigard.
I would move the bill as amended.
Motion and a second for approval of the bill as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-579 by Stein amends the Metro Code to delete the requirement that the county clerk's office issue a separate decal as proof of payment of the local motor vehicle regulatory license fee. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee approved 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett. is away. Oh, Councilmember Baker, I apologize.
Public safety beer and regulated beverages approved 4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Stein.
Move approval with a very brief comment.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Councilmember Stein.
I believe that Clerk Brenda Wynn is here. This has been brought to us at her request. This is an efficiency and a cost savings measure, and I would ask you to approve it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the bill is passed. BL 2013-580 by Tigard amends the Metro Code pertaining to the mailing of stormwater fee bills showing a zero balance or credit. Councilmember Tigard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Dominic.
Public Works Committee moved to defer or approve deferral of 2 meetings, 7-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Tigard.
I would move to defer 2 meetings with 1 brief comment.
There's a motion and a second for a 2-meeting deferral. Councilman Tigard.
I would like to have said that this was due to the holiday season that we wanted time to discuss this, but that's not the case. Mr. Potter and I have agreed to meet and try to work out some solutions that may be less costly and still have the same effect, and we have been in touch today, and I feel comfortable that we'll be back here in 2 meetings.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second for a 2-meeting deferral. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the bill is deferred for 2 meetings. BL 2013-581 by Stein, Dominy, and others grants permanent easements for properties located at 2801 Tucker Road and 3133 West Hamilton Avenue to Piedmont Natural Gas Company for the purpose of installing and maintaining a gas line. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee approved 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominy.
Public Works Committee approved 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved 581, 9-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Stein.
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, and the bill is passed. BL 2013-582 by Langster, Stein, and others authorizes Metro government to enter into a participation agreement with 2400 TN West End Avenue, LLC, regarding public service improvements. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, sir. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance Committee approved the bill 13-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you. Public Works approved 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and the bill is passed. BL 2013-583 by Councilmember Moore authorizes Nashville Billiard Company at 927 8th Avenue South to install, construct, and maintain underground and aerial encroachments in the right-of-way of Archer Street. Councilmember Moore.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you. Public Works approved 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning approved Bill 583, 9-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
I move for approval, please.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the bill is passed. BL 2013-584 by Gilmore amends the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance map by abandoning a portion of alley number 515 right-of-way. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I need committee reports, please.
Councilmember Dominy.
Public Works Committee approved. Once again, 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Traffic and Parking voted to pass this 2-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approve Bill 584, 9 and 0.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
I move for approval.
There's a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is adopted. Bill 2013-56, I'm sorry, we're on bills on third reading. BL 2013-560 by Allen changes .44 acres from RM40 to SP zoning for properties located at 1708 and 1710 19th Avenue South to permit up to 36 residential units. Councilmember Allen.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approve Bill 560, 9 and 0.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
There is a substitute. Shall I explain this one? The substitute is a specific plan that was submitted after the Planning Commission, so that we had to wait until third reading. It has been through the committee, through the community meeting process, and I would move approval of the substitute.
Council Lady moves to substitute, properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The bill is substituted.
Okay, I would like to move the bill as substituted.
Thank you. Council Lady moves to the bill as substituted, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-561 by McGuire and Todd changes 1.1 acres from R10 to SP zoning for properties located at 4115, 4117, and 4119 Lone Oak Road to permit up to 8 detached residential units. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you. I would move approval.
Motion made for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-562 by Banks changes 7.2 acres from R40 to SP zoning for property located at 6015 Cloverland Drive and a portion of property located at 6021 Cloverland Drive to permit up to 25 detached single-family residential dwelling units. Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 562, 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Banks.
I'd like to move approval.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-563 by Baker changes .21 acres from CN to R6 zoning for property located at 5516 Kentucky Avenue. Councilmember Baker.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-564 by Mitchell changes 2.45 acres from AR2A to RS10 zoning for a portion of properties located at 7986 McCrory Lane and McCrory Lane unnumbered north of Newsom Station Road. Councilmember Mitchell.
Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Mitchell.
Move for approval.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-565 by Harrison changes 11.18 acres, 11.18 acres from IWD to MUG zoning for property located at Vantage Way, unnumbered east of French Landing Way. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Move for passage.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? and the bill is passed. BL 2013-566 by Councilmember Bennett changes .68 acres from one SP to another SP district for property located at 4601 Gallatin Pike to permit a 3,200 square foot bank and all other uses and standards of the MUL A district in case of redevelopment of the site. Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Kudos on an excellent job tonight. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9 for, 0 against.
Move approval.
Second. Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-567 by Councilmember Hunt amends the Metro Code pertaining to alternative zoning districts and landscape buffer yard requirements. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 9 for, 0 against, and I move for approval.
Motion made, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-568 by Councilmember Allen amends the Metro Zoning Code to prohibit LED message boards and digital display signs within the MUI, MUIA, ORI, and MHP zoning districts. Councilmember Allen.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
At the approval of the sponsor, the bill was deferred until December 19th.
17th.
Two meeting deferral?
Two meetings.
All right. Councilmember Allen.
I would like to move for deferral with a brief explanation.
There's a
Two-meeting
motion
deferral.
for a two-meeting deferral, properly seconded. Councilmember Allen.
This bill has a companion bill to pick up another zoning designation that was inadvertently left out, omitted, and also there has been some work on a substitute bill to work with some properties that don't have any residential components in them, and we're still refining that. So this will allow us to get those refinements, I think, straightened out, and then also to have this track with the companion bill. So I, again, renew my request for a two-meeting deferral.
All right. We have a motion for a two-meeting deferral, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the two-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is deferred for two meetings. BL 2013-570 by Mitchell and Banks amends the Metro Code pertaining to the licensing of electricians. Councilmember Mitchell.
Committee report.
The committee reports are all in. Councilman?
Move approval.
There's a motion for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The bill passed. BL 2013-571 by Councilmember Pridemore amends the Metro Code to create a process for the renewal of wrecker licenses. Councilmember Pridemore.
With all committees approving, I move for approval, please.
It's a motion for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-572 by Councilmember Gilmore and Stein approves an agreement between Metro and Rogers Welch Venture Incorporated for the lease of parking spaces in the Metro parking garage located at 151 6th Avenue North. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. You are doing a wonderful job tonight.
Thank you.
You've been a great umpire. Move for approval.
There's a motion for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-573 by Council Members Harrison, Dominy, and Hunt authorizes the Director of Public Property to record a quitclaim deed from the Tennessee Processing Center, LLC, to Metro Government for property located at 2604 Brick Church Pike for a Metro Water project. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee report, please.
All committee reports are in.
Okay, I move for approval.
Motion for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed. BL 2013-574 by Councilmember Weiner, Dominy, and Hunt authorizes Metro government to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Birch Bark Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 7128 Birch Bark Drive and 0 Hicks Road. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. Job well done this evening. We are very appreciative of your good hands. Okay, everything is in, and I'd like to move approval.
That's motion for approval, properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the bill is passed. BL 2013-575 by Council Members Langster, Dominy, and Hunt authorizes Metro government to abandon approximately 160 linear feet of an existing 8-inch public sewer main and easement, and to accept approximately 373 linear feet of an 8-inch public sewer main and easement for properties located at 1726 and 1729 Hyman Street. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. You've done an excellent job. You really have. All committee reports in. Move for approval.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Jernigan.
Yes, thank you. This question is for the finance director. Now that you've been dubbed a financial genius, would you mind looking at my personal finances? I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Langster moved approval, properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the bill is passed.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Yay. Properly seconded. We are adjourned.